Y'all better be careful who y'all lay next to because your life may just depend on it. Story time. Fortunately, this is not my story. This is my friend's story. And for the sake of the story, we're just going to call my friend Amanda. So me and Amanda met in real estate school. We were only there about 2 months and we developed like a real friendship. While being in real estate school, we go out, get food together, me, her, and 2 other girls. This particular day, we decide to go to this little pizza joint. Really, only Amanda wants food from this place, so we get her food. She comes out saying that she met this really cute guy, and it just so happened as we're getting ready to leave, he's walking out. So it was like love at first sight. We all are in the car kind of like, oh my God, he even stepped with all of us in the car. So you knew he meant business. Telling her how beautiful she is and how he wants to take her out, shooting his shot, coming correct. So, of course, they exchanged numbers and the rest is history. For the sake of this story, we're going to call old dude Greg. So Greg is like a Spanish guy, probably about 6 feet tall, but he works and moves around a lot. The reason he was out here is because he has a son out here. So occasionally he comes back and forth from Louisiana to Georgia when he's not traveling for work. Y'all, things just start moving really fast with Greg and Amanda. Amanda had just got out of a relationship, and here we are thinking that, God has sent her knight in shining armor. Now, Greg is going all out for Amanda. I mean, taking her, basically flying her out to Louisiana, getting her all type of gifts, spoiling her, treating her how a woman is supposed to be treated. Now, because of Greg's job, he always would get a room whenever Amanda would come to Louisiana to see him. I'm like the investigator friend. So any news that I'm told, I'm always gonna kind of do my research. I'm also the friend that you come to when you feel like you're tripping, and I give you confirmation that you're not. And I read cards, so let's just say I'm very intuitive. So me being me, Amanda is telling me everything that's going on. And of course, I'm rooting her on because what she came from versus the man that stepped in, it's like, okay, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And he doing a damn thing. But some of his stories and the things that she's telling me is not really making sense. So you make a lot of money, but yet y'all are starting to get serious. Fast forward to 6 months down the line, and he's still only getting rooms when you come and see him. That kind of raises a little red flag for me because it's like, do you have a house? Now, both Greg and Amanda are kind of in their 40s. So Amanda's naturally just going based off what he's telling her. One night, it was late at night, and he had to get up and go to work probably 2 or 3 hours. Amanda gets up, goes to the bathroom, but she feels like she's being watched. Now, if you from New Orleans, you from Louisiana, you already know kind of what get down out there. And her senses started kind of telling her like she's not alone. She feels like every move she makes is being calculated or accounted for. It's to the point where now she's spooked. She's paranoid. She can't sleep. All of a sudden, she starts to see shadows like dancing on the wall. And she knows at this point, she's not getting back up out the bed. This story is just too juicy for me not to give y'all a part 2. So here I am. At this point, Amanda is petrified and literally paralyzed with fear. Y'all, Greg is dead asleep. While all of this is going on, while Amanda is sitting here stuck in fear, he is knocked out. She shakes him to wake him up and ask him, like, yo, do you really have to go to work today? He's like, what's going on, babe? Talk to me. What happened? So she gets to telling him, like, I'm seeing stuff. I'm seeing spirits. I don't know. Like, I'm scared. And I don't want to be here by myself. He kind of brushes it off, like, just try to get more rest. Maybe you just saw something that wasn't there. Trying to rationalize it. Now, a little side note about Amanda. Amanda smoked weed like a chimney. Because she was out of town and Greg didn't smoke like that, she just didn't really feel the need to bring her weed. So usually she would smoke her a little blunt, go back to bed, and let bygones be bygones. But right now, Amanda cannot sleep. Greg has to go to work at 5 a.m. So it's still going to be dark when he leaves. It's safe to say Amanda didn't get any rest after that. Greg gets up, ready for work, walks out the door, and now Amanda is just alone in this room. It's still pretty dark out. At this point, Amanda is petrified because she still feels like she's being watched. She has to go to the bathroom again, and she doesn't even want to let her feet touch the floor. Eventually, 7 o'clock rolls around, the sun comes out, and she feels safe to kind of let loose, go to the bathroom, get off the bed, do what she got to do. Now, all while Greg is at work, Amanda still is feeling like she's being watched. She's in a place where she's more comfortable because she can move around. People are awake now. She's not as scared, but she still has that eerie feeling of something being there. Now, Greg is a freak. I don't mean like, ooh, sexy freak. I mean like, ooh, dirty freak. Amanda would be on her period and he would want to eat her out or do the do. And I mean, like, he had absolutely no problem. If anything, he would tell her he likes the taste of. One time when she came to Louisiana to see him, she was on her cycle and she told him that. She basically let him know nothing was going to be going on and to just let it be. And Amanda later wakes up to Greg eating her box while she got ketchup down there. His favorite excuse would always be, oh, I'm just going to do the top. I'm not going to do the bottom. But it was like he loved the taste of her. That's very important to the story. It even got to the point where Amanda was just like, okay, hey, if you like it, I love it. And they would do the do while she was on her cycle. Comment for part 3. Y'all ready for that part 3? Before we get into the story, I think I need to check a few of y'all. Understand this. I don't want to be like nobody on this app. I'm not trying to act like nobody on this app. I'm not stealing anybody's content. These are facts. These stories really happened. I salute, support, show gratitude to all content creators that are spreading the word because these things really go on. I'm coming on here to spread awareness because I was not helped into my spiritual journey. I was pushed into my spiritual journey. So with that being said, put both your lips together, sit back and enjoy the story, okay? All right, y'all. So now we're back. This is Amanda's story. At this point, Amanda and Greg have been kicking it for a couple of months. He is literally whining and dining her. They're going on lavish dates. He is basically footing the bill for everything. All Amanda really has to do is show up. Now, of course, as a woman, Amanda is smart. She's not just going into this looking for love. I mean, she's open to it. But at the same time, she's just having a good time because her past with relationships wasn't the best. Honorable mention, Amanda is from Honduras. So Amanda is not really new to this. It's just more so like this situation, this experience was new. She knows all about the spooky stuff. She's experienced some things of her own. And later I'll probably tell more of her stories. It just never happened to her in this way. All right, so they're about 6 months deep at this point. And remember I told y'all that Greg had a weed farm in California. And he also had one in Oklahoma. Now listen, this is not Greg's first rodeo. Greg actually had been to jail for 10 years prior to him meeting Amanda. One day he randomly calls Amanda and tells her that someone came to one of the weed farms in Oklahoma and basically served a paper saying that it was a warrant out for his arrest. Now, because he told Amanda that he had a history of being in jail and it was because of drugs, Amanda wasn't super shocked. But also, the way that he runs his business and the way that he carries himself, it's kind of like, how could this happen? Somebody must have told on you because you don't move like that. Greg was pretty boring. He went to work. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. That, only thing that he did was spend time with Amanda and go to work. So basically, he was trying to prepare Amanda to not hear from him for a while. Now, this is where things get a little tricky. This is when all the lies start to show themselves. He tells Amanda that he's not new to this and he's going to find a way to contact her when he gets to jail. Now, weeks have gone by. Amanda has heard from him every now and then, but she's starting to see that his pattern with her is changing. Greg used to talk to Amanda all day while he was at work. Now, this is all leading up to the warrant. he would call her at random to just check on her. You know, he did these little check-ins. It wasn't a time where they weren't talking. Now we're fast forwarding after the war. So she's thinking maybe this was why he was acting so standoffish and he was being so distant with me. Now at this point, Greg is kind of checking in. He's very inconsistent. And little by little, he starts to go ghost on her. Amanda assumes that he's dealing with his baby mama or another woman has come into the play. Until one day, Greg calls her from a different number. He says that, I've been locked up, babe. That's why you haven't heard from me. I got a phone. So this is the phone that I'm going to be able to contact you from. Now, you know, I don't care how many times you're going to be in the jail. You're not going to get a phone that quick. It's just not going to happen. Not to mention, the warrant was in a different city than where he was originally locked up. So me and Amanda are both kind of like, this doesn't make any sense. The math just ain't math. So I basically tell Amanda, like, he's playing games, bump him. We got options. Just deal with one of your other ones. Now, remember when I told y'all that Greg liked to be intimate with Amanda when she was on her cycle? Little did we know, Greg had been performing rituals on Amanda. This is why Amanda felt like she was always being watched. This is why Amanda started to see the shadows dancing on the wall. Now, as a spiritualist myself, I stay prayed up. I stay prayed up for myself and my friends. And Amanda came to me asking me to do a reading for her. Now, in the back of my mind, I kind of feel like I already know what's going on. But I'm going to do the reading because I lie, you lie, he lie. But the cards don't lie. Spirit don't lie. So whatever is happening will come out. We did the reading. It did confirm that there was some things going on. There was some suspicious activities and there was another woman involved. Y'all, we had no idea that Greg was never in jail at all. In fact, he was in Georgia, where Amanda lives. Yeah, see, Greg, he had been very, very, very busy. Now, I know y'all love to think that women are the only ones out here that are doing spell work, love spells, rituals on men. But the gag is, Greg was a busy, busy bee. Y'all already know what time it is. If you want a part 4, comment down below, get this video to 10,000 views, and y'all might see my face again. Hey boo, you ready for that part 4? So we left off on the part where we found out that Greg had not been in jail, and in fact, Greg had been a very busy bee. Amanda and I both had our suspicions that Greg had been dealing with another woman. There was no real physical proof, but I did the reading. The cards don't lie, people do. And the reading definitely confirmed that there was another woman in the mix. Turns out the real truth behind why Greg ghosted Amanda was way more sinister than we thought. So remember when I told y'all that Greg had been performing rituals on Amanda? Unbeknownst to Amanda, she's just thinking that she's tripping, she's tired all of a sudden. She's seeing, every time she goes to New Orleans, she's seeing shadows on the wall. She feels like she's being watched. She kind of feels like she's being spiritually harassed at this point. And on top of that, Amanda, she was really big into fitness at this point. So her weight had been up and down. She couldn't really pinpoint why. Obviously, she's trying to make reasonable explanations, or I've eaten a lot. Turns out the last time Amanda saw Greg, she was in fact on her cycle, and she left a few things behind. The things that she left behind consisted of a hairbrush with her hair in it, some old clothes that were dirty, which included her panties, and a hair clip. So all this time while Greg had ghosted Amanda or went to jail, he was actually performing rituals on her, trying to get this love spell to work. And the crazy thing is, this was affecting Amanda, but just not in the way or the capacity that Greg expected it to. So, I mean, naturally, she was fatigued. She was tired. Sometimes she would have unexplained outbursts or emotional responses to things. She even started getting to the point where she started going a little crazy about Greg and his whereabouts. But what Greg didn't account for is that Amanda is from Honduras. So she is protected. Now, a little side note, Amanda would tell me from time to time she would have like a shadow figure following her. Now, this was before she met Greg. Turns out this shadowy figure had been with her since she was a child, and she would see it every now and then. It would present itself to her, but it didn't want to scare her. Amanda would go on to have dreams about this shadow figure. From this point, the figure would start to show Amanda things that were happening around her spiritually that she was not aware of. One in particular situation being that night that Amanda had went to New Orleans to see Greg and they had spicy time on her period, Greg actually put something in Amanda's drink to make sure she was asleep so that he could perform said rituals. He already had her blood, he already had her hair, and he had items that belonged to her, her clothing, her panties, the whole full 9 yards. But he didn't expect her to wake up that night. So panicking, Greg pushes everything under the bed, creeps back into the bed, and kind of like shuts down, tries to control his breathing so she doesn't know that he has been up. So the shadow figure is starting to show her that he was halfway done through his ritual. He only really needed to do one more thing in order for it to stick on her. Within the same dream, the shadow figure also starts to show Amanda Greg's whereabouts during this ghosting phase. Turns out the items that he had, that he kept, he took those items to a voodoo doctor. From that point, the voodoo doctor hexed the items, told Greg all he needed to do was get Amanda to get her belongings, and she basically wouldn't be able to get away from him. Now here's where things get interesting. Amanda is no fool, so she most definitely took those dreams as a warning. Honorable mention, the shadow figure also showed Amanda that the voodoo doctor gave Greg 1 week in order to get her items back to her so that the love spell could take full effect. If Greg did not get her those items, everything would backfire and fall on him. So now Greg is literally trying to beat the clock. He's contacting Amanda. Amanda has basically gone ghost on Greg. All in the name of feeling like there was another woman involved and because of the message that she received through her dreams. Amanda and I went on to do some heavy prayers, making sure that she was protected, giving away anything that maybe he had given her or any stuff that she had that was his, and basically doing a whole cleanse. So at this point, he can no longer get in contact with Amanda. She's basically done with him. So as you can imagine, the love spell did in fact backfire. Amanda is no longer seeing shadow figures dancing around her. She no longer feels paranoid. And her weight has finally gotten back to the place that she feels like she wants it. But Greg, oh baby honey child. Greg has been stalking Amanda for a year. He hits her up on Mother's Day. He's contacted her son via Facebook. He's contacted her friends via Facebook. He's managed to actually find one of her friends' phone numbers to contact her and see if she knows where Amanda is. To take it a step further, he leaves her voicemails. Any holiday, he'll just text her and say, "Hey Amanda, I hope you have a good Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is." Greg still tries to get into contact with Amanda till this day. He even sends her messages basically letting her know that if he finds her, he will never give her up. And he would never let her go. Stop doing love spells on people, okay? Because when they backfire, they hit hard. I know y'all thought it was Amanda that did the love spell. Nope, it was Greg. Y'all better watch these men, okay? Because they crazy too.
He was using her as a cum dumpster and she still wanted to do a honey jar on him. My client Tessa was madly in love with the married man. Of course, she never told me he was a married man. She just assumed I wouldn't see it through the divination. Tessa tells me how this man does her like nobody has ever done her before. How he treats her right, pays her bills, takes her on nice trips, and when I mentioned the wife, she got silent. I had to tell her, hey, it's no worries, you're in the no judgment zone, but let's not start off dishonest. And then I proceeded to do further divination. The divination came back that she did not need to do a honey jar on him. He was never leaving his wife. And then one of her ancestors chimed in, he's only with her because she lets him use her as a cum dumpster. And I thought that was it, but the spirit kept going. The spirit says he likes her because there's no consequences. She gets knocked up, she's taking a plan B, going to the clinic, or drinking some rude tea. Meanwhile, he's loving on the wife, keep making babies with the wife, and leaving Tessa on the sidelines. Baby, that ancestor was pissed. I thought that ancestor was done, but nope, she kept going. That ancestor said she keeps walking past Travis, who got a great job, great benefits, long dick, is a provider, and extremely loyal. So I say, Tessa, you are with this guy who's not really treating you the way you need to be treated, not giving you everything. You're accepting what's beneath you. Is there someone else in your life who is better suited for you? She says, there's no one. It's just me. There's nobody who wants me. So, of course, I say, okay, I don't press it. I ask her, I say, what do you want in a spouse? Tessa started naming all these qualities she wanted, and each quality she said, the ancestor said that Travis had it. But after I told her that the guy she was dating wasn't the one for her and she shouldn't do a honey jar on him, she really didn't want to talk to me anymore. And at that point, I realized she's either going to just do a honey jar or she's going to pay someone to do it. But before we got off the phone, I let her know that one of her ancestors told me that Travis was the one she was supposed to be with. Travis was her soulmate. The ancestor chimes in again and says, thanks for telling her. She's not going to listen, but I'm going to go tell her in her dreams, and we'll see if she listens. A year and a half later, I see Tessa on my schedule again. So it comes time for our call. We get on the phone, and she starts telling me who she was. Now, I remembered her, but I let her fill me in. And within the first 3 minutes of the call, she let me know that she did end up putting him in a honey jar, and her life went to shit. She was up for a promotion at her job. She did not get it. She was trying to buy a house. She could not get it. She was thinking she was cursed, but she went to another reader because she didn't want to come back to me. And the reader told her it was because of the honey jar. So then she booked a reading with me because she needed a way forward. Tessa proceeds to tell me, well, you did tell me about Travis, and then I had a dream about Travis too. I let her know what the ancestor said because I remembered it vividly. And as I'm talking to her, I say, hey, are you pregnant? Because I saw a little baby like crawling around. Tessa says, no, I'm not pregnant. His wife is pregnant. She then says, and I found out he has another woman on the side besides me. Then she started to break down and cry. And y'all know me, I'm going to give you your space to cry and hold your hand through it because we are all human. We all make mistakes and nobody is perfect. And yes, she received warnings from me and her ancestors, but so what? We all human. So after she calms down, I walk her through how to undo the honey jar. I also give her a cord cutting ritual and explain the purpose of it severing ties between her and the married man. I congratulated her on her growth and her seeing the best way forward for herself. So then we proceeded to talk about what she wanted in a spouse. Now, I couldn't remember Travis's name, but I remembered it started with a T. So she starts telling me everything she wants in a spouse. Then I proceed to ask her again. I said, is there somebody else? She goes on to say, well, you mentioned Travis, but I haven't been able to see it up until recently. However, he's now in a relationship. As she says that, as she's talking, I get a vision of a man just angry, banging on the door, just banging and banging. Before I can go deeper into the vision, that same ancestor from before says she gonna have to move because the married man is about to go through some traumatic things and he's going to be triggered. He's not going to let her walk away. The ancestor tells me that Tessa is not going to do the cord cutting nor removal of the honey jar because she wants him to suffer. In fact, she's already done a sour jar on him, but she didn't do a cord cutting first. So I knew we were in for a world of trouble because Tessa don't like to listen. But this is not my first rodeo, and at that point I had already seen that her and Travis were going to be together. I just had to get her through this rough patch. So I walk her through how to do the cord cutting, and then I proceed to tell her about her ancestors. She previously had an ancestor altar up, but when things stopped going her way, she took the ancestor altar down. She blamed them versus taking accountability for her own actions. I tell her she's going to have to move, and she needs to put that ancestor altar back up to protect herself. You can't be out here doing spells with no protection, especially throwing curses. She says, well, my lease is up and I was thinking about moving back home. She asked me, could I do a reading on that? And I did the reading, pulled the cards, and it said that her hometown, Dallas, would be a great fit for her. And then I heard that same ancestor say, yes, send her home to Travis. So I asked her, I say, well, is Travis in Dallas? And she says, yeah, he is. He moved back there a few months ago, but he's in a relationship. I say, that's okay. We're not going to break them up. You have your own problems to deal with. We'll let fate work it out. About 4 months later, Tessa messages me and says, you won't believe it. The married man was arrested for property damage. He had broken into Tessa's old apartment and destroyed the place. He thought she was still living there, but someone else had moved in. So I asked her, I say, so now that that's over, do you want to move back to the West Coast? She goes, no, I love it here. I forgot how great it was in Dallas. So I was happy that she was happy. So a few months go by and I see her on my schedule again. And I know it's always something with her. So I was like, okay, let's go. We get on the phone and she says, Luna, almost 2 years later, and I'm finally ready to listen. She goes, I want to do a honey jar on Travis. I was like, wait, what? How did we even get here? She goes on to explain that Travis and his girlfriend broke up a few months prior and that the girlfriend moved back to the West Coast. She was single, Travis was single, and she was ready to mingle. So I let her know this may be too soon, but let's do divination to see. We do the reading and it comes back it's way too soon. But she also wants to get a promotion at her job, especially since she's been through so much trouble. So I give her some money rituals to do, some road opening rituals to do, and I do divination on her the new role. I give her warnings about some of the roadblocks that are going to be put in her way by her new boss. I give her spell work and prayers to soften the boss towards her. And since I had already done the divination on her and Travis, I told her, okay, I'm going to give you my version of the honey jar spell, but you have to wait 6 months to do it. She said, okay, fine. I promise. I've learned my lesson now listening to you. I didn't really believe her, but I said, okay. About 4 months later, I get an email from her saying, Luna, I know you said wait 6 months, but we've been on quite a few dates. We've been on vacation together and things are going great and I'm just going to do it. She goes, I'm going to keep you updated. Wish me luck. So she does the honey jar. Maybe about 7-8 months later, she sends me another email saying that they are engaged. And then she apologized for not listening. Of course, I had to let her know there's no reason to be sorry. This was a lesson that you had to learn and you had to see through. Tessa and Travis got married and they had their first child last year. In life, we can take the easy road or the hard road. Tessa chose the hard road, but still ended up happy. This means that it's not too late for you. And so what if you made some bad decisions? You can always come back.
Let's do a story time. And this story is about my cousin and how we found out that her husband ended up putting voodoo and making her like fall in love with him. So it's like a love spell. My mom went home to the Philippines. I grew up in the Philippines. The last time I was there, I was 12. Well, my cousin's a little bit older than me. She's maybe like 5, 7 years older than me. She disappeared when she got older, and out of nowhere, she ended up moving to Negros. That's a island in the Philippines. That's a lot of supernatural stuff be happening over there. So I don't really know. She ended up moving. She ended up marrying a guy that nobody knows. Like my family didn't know anything about this guy. She did not introduce him to the family or anything like that. Well, we have a big family. So we thinking, okay, well, why did you introduce him to us? Something's going on. Like, what do you have going on? Like, are you trying to hide him? What's the deal? Fast forward, my mom get a phone call. We're already in the United States. I was still young. I was probably still, like in high school. My mom gets a phone call from my aunt and was telling her that, hey, your cousin or your niece is in the hospital. So my mom was like, what is going on? Like, why is she in the hospital? Like, I need to find out what's going on with my niece. So she goes back home and try to figure out what's going on with her. Well, for some reason, my mom, she always, like, she can feel when something's not right. She can feel if somebody's doing something to her. I don't know. My mom is very spiritual. So she can feel that something is not right in that family, or something's not right with him. Well, my cousin ended up having two kids with this guy. And they look like, at first my mom was like, oh, they look so happy. I guess she's happy and I'm happy for her. So my cousin is pretty much like her daughter. So she goes there, she goes to the Philippines, and, she spent time with them, blah, blah, blah. And my mom, weeks later, she started feeling weird. So she said, you know what? I'm going to go back to the island where I grew up when I was young. It's called Bohol. So she was like, I'm going to go back to Bohol and maybe find me a witch doctor. And so she was like, I just feel like something's not right with this guy. And this is my cousin's husband. So she goes back to the island and she finds her a witch doctor in Bohol. And the witch doctor was doing ritual and prayers and doing stuff with my mom. And she told, well, it was a he. He told my mom that your niece is in danger. So my mom was like, what do you mean she's in danger? So the witch doctor did some type of ritual to the point that, like, it was too powerful, because this guy has been like doing this love spell for years, because they've been together for over 12 years. So it was too powerful to just like fix it like that. It's going to take a while to fix her. Because my cousin was so crazy about this man. If you see my cousin and you see this guy, you just like, oh my God, something's not right. Like, what happened? And after a while, while my mom was in the island, she started crying. She started, like, she felt upset. She felt upset that her niece is going through this. So she goes back to the island where my cousin was and was talking to her and was telling her, like, hey, I feel like this is what's going on with you. Like, do you feel like you should come with me and maybe, you can figure this out? Like, do you think that's what's going on? And she's like, no. She's looking at my mom like, what are you talking about? And so my mom was like, something's just not right here. Like, you need to come with me to the island and see this witch doctor, and we need to fix this. Like, that man put a love spell on you. He voodoo you to the point that you end up marrying him. And this is what's going on now. So they go back to the island, the island, you pretty much have to like get on the water and cross the island and go to the other island. So it's confusing. You can't just, like ride or drive over there. No, you have to go across the water. They get on the boat and they cross the water, right? So they cross the water and it seemed like the spell went away. So my cousin kind of for some reason, my cousin, something changed within her. Something happened while they were in that water. And my mom was like, I knew it. Like, that witch doctor was not lying. He put a spell on you. So we need to fix this. And we need to figure out how to fix this. So we got to go back to the witch doctor so that he can tell us how to do it. So I'm going to do the part 2 for the love spell story about my cousin. So I got cut off when I was talking about when my mom went back to Negros and got my cousin, and they ended up going to Bohol and breaking that spell. Well, my cousin ended up going back to Negros to her husband, and her husband was upset because, this is not like her anymore. Like, he did not know that my mom and my cousin already knew what he's been doing, and that he didn't put a love spell on her. So he didn't realize that they already found out, they already broke the spell, blah blah blah. Well, when my cousin went back, my cousin was pretty much packing her stuff, getting ready to leave. Well, her husband is actually abusive. That was the reason why my mom went back home and ended up, getting my cousin away from him. So he got aggressive with my cousin, got aggressive with my mom, and pretty much didn't want her leaving. Well, it didn't end right there because he was trying to force my cousin to eat his food, because what he's been doing is he's been putting the love spell in his food. So he's been feeding her throughout the years. And that's why she end up getting getting married to this man. And it got crazy. Okay, it got crazy. So my cousin packed her stuff, and my mom finally called my uncles, and my uncles came, police came. And at the end of the story, y'all, my cousin ended up getting away. My cousin ended up disclosing all her locations. They have two kids, but they were able to, I'm guessing they were able to not have to deal with court or lawyers or anything like that. But yes, my cousin ended up getting away. It was hard. It was so many years that he had people befriending everyone in our family, stalking her. He even went to Bohol. He went to Cebu, try to find my cousin. And this man is literally crazy, y'all. So, yeah, my cousin ended up getting away from the abusive relationship. And my cousin does not want anything to do with him. I don't even think they communicate when it comes to children and to their children or whatever. So, yes, that's scary. So, ladies, y'all gotta be careful. If you think it's just too good to be true and something is telling you that something is not right, at first, I didn't believe in those, supernatural stuff or love spell or voodoo or anything like that. But, finding out her story is it's real. So, yeah, that's how my cousin ended up finding out that her husband ended up putting a love spell on her. So I still pray for them. I still pray that, he doesn't find them or anything like that, because they still running, because this man is crazy. All right, y'all have a good day.
Hey cousins, so of course I'm back with another story for y'all. Okay, this story is from Tamika. Tamika said this happened when she was about 20 years old. Tamika said her grandmother did work and she was not your average grandmother. Her grandma used to smoke, her grandma used to drink, her grandma used to do everything at that time. Her grandmother was the type that would put your name in the freezer to stop you from doing something, and that whatever she focused on for you to stop doing, while she's putting your name in the freezer, you will stop doing. Her grandmother also did things like jars, and not honey jars and not sugar jars. No, she would take your name, put it in a jar with water, and then go hide it to make sure you don't go anywhere. Tamika says she would see this working with her own eyes. Tamika gets a boyfriend, but he's cutting up, hitting her up every now and then. So she went and told her grandmother. So the grandmother told her, if you want to hear from him, take his name, write it down, put it under your pillow, and sleep on it. Tamika would do this every time her boyfriend would go days without talking to her. And every time that she takes his name and write it down and put it under her pillow, she said every morning before 10 a.m., he calls her. This is where things takes a turn. So her boyfriend is out cheating on her or doing everything that he's doing, acting like he's single. So her grandma suggests a spell for Tamika to do. So her grandmother told her, take his full name down, put it in a jar with water, and go hide it. And she's wondering how was this even going to work, because for one, he's just cheating uncontrollably, and for two, they don't even live together. But Tamika was so in love and she wanted her boyfriend to stop cheating on her. So she did exactly what her grandmother told her to do. So a month later, he gets into some legal stuff and get locked up. Now, he did not get a bond. So eventually, when his court date came up, they end up giving him a bond under the stipulations that he has to go on house arrest. Guess who house he's doing his house arrest at? Yes, Tamika's house. Taking it back to when she wrote his name down and put it in a jar, on her petition, it said for him to never leave the house. So as he gets released from jail and now is doing his house arrest at her house, Tamika's saying they having the best relationship ever. He's so nice to her. He's never been this nice to her. Everything is going in the direction that she wants it to go in. Until one day, she's out shopping with her grandmother. And remember, he's at the house because he can't go anywhere. So when she returns back home, the jar that she did of him is sitting on her table. And he's sitting beside it. So he's asking her, why my name is in this jar? What's going on? And she's like playing oblivious, like she don't know what's going on. She don't know why his name is even in that jar. So he told her again to get his name out of that jar. So she took his name out and she said instantly the spell broke. When the spell broke, somehow, some way, the conditions of his house arrest got changed to where now he can leave. He don't have to stay home 24/7. Then eventually he ended up getting off house arrest. So when he got off house arrest, he moved out of her house. Then he started cheating worse than what he was cheating before she even put him in this jar. She said he cheated so much, it was as if he hated her. The spell Tamika did backfired so bad that she went looking for him in the middle of the night and ended up finding out where he lived at. When she pulled up to his house and he saw that it was her at his door, he beat her so bad. She said to this day she has permanent scars on her face because that's how bad he beat her. Tamika said she submitted her story because she wants y'all to understand, do not play when it comes down to these people free will. She said she has lost since doing this spell. She lost mentally, she lost financially, she even got on drugs at one point. She said be careful. So again, y'all, if you have any stories that you want to submit, make sure you guys DM it to me or submit it to the email that's in my bio. Also, go subscribe to my YouTube. Click the link in my bio. It's going to take you right to it, okay?
Before you do a love spell on that man, make sure you watch this video first. We're gonna call the person who submitted this story Julia. I am back with another spooky story. So like many others, Julia was scrolling through TikTok when she came across various love spells. Intrigued, she decided to try not just one, but multiple spells. A love spell, a binding spell, an obsession spell, and a third-party removal spell. The target of these spells was a co-worker named Juan, with whom Julia worked with at a warehouse. Julia says the first love spell took effect almost immediately. She noticed a change in Juan's demeanor. His eyes seemed different, and he expressed his love for her more intensely. As their relationship deepened, he decided to move in with Julia, and Julia herself agreed. Initially, everything was perfect. However, as time passed, Juan's behavior started becoming possessive. He couldn't bear to be without Julia, insisting on constant communication even during work hours. On their separate days off, Juan would wait outside for Julia. He would wait outside the workplace for hours. And that's when she realized that the obsession spell had taken hold. The third-party removal spell also appeared effective, as he wanted to be with her exclusively, moving in shortly after. No one caught Juan's eyes but Julia. Julia says his possessiveness escalated to the point where she couldn't even move or even use the bathroom without him accompanying her. And when Julia expressed that his behavior was overwhelming, he reacted violently. He pulled out a pew-pew on her. Initially, he threatened to do it to himself, but then he flipped the pew-pew on Julia, declaring that if he couldn't have Julia, then no one else could. Terrified, Julia pleaded him to stop, assuring him that she would never leave him. He made Julia promise to never leave him, and out of fear, Julia complied. Julia says despite of the danger, she stayed, and each time she would try to leave, he would threaten her with the pew-pew, reinforcing that she too was trapped. The abuse became physical. He would not only hit her, but he would often use the pew-pew as a means of intimidation. One day, while he was out, Julia came up with an escape plan. She called her mother for help, and during the call, he had unexpectedly returned. And he became immediately suspicious of her actions.
You trying to leave, ho? She managed to convince him, though, that she wasn't planning anything, and eventually, he left again. And seizing the opportunity, Julia locked all the doors and waited for her mother to come. He returned once more, but this time, all the doors were locked, so he couldn't come in. He shouted threats, accusing her of trying to leave him, and he was making sure that she knew if you are trying to leave, it ain't gonna be so easy. When her mother finally arrived, she left with her mother and never looked back. She had to move out of the apartment and relocate for safety. Julia says, ironically, we worked together and he filed a restraining order against me. So he filed a restraining order against Julia, falsely claiming that she had threatened his life. When in reality, Julia says it was actually the opposite. She says she prayed to her ancestors, asking them to remove the spells that she had casted. Since then, she's continued practicing magic, but vowed never, ever, ever to do another love spell on another person. She says she learns that love spells rarely result in positive outcomes. Wow, Julia, thank you so much for submitting this story. Thank you so much for submitting the story. If you have a spooky story that you want me to tell, please feel free to submit it to me either on my TikTok DM or my Instagram. Please follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real, duh. And while you're at it, subscribe to my YouTube channel for longer, better, and spookier stories. Like I say in every single video, I love you by abducted humans from your favorite Haitian homegirl.